It is 500 billion degrees out here right now, which I guess means that it's the perfect temperature to talk about the Breath of Fire games. So let's get the one I hate out of the way first. Yeah, I hate Breath of Fire 4. I like maybe 3 or 4 things in the entire game, and I hate every single thing else about it. Let's start with the most prominent problem. The dragons look retarded. When you go from Capcom's brilliant pixel artistry, and then they're forced to use PS1 polygons to make their dragon designs come to life, it didn't work. It didn't work at all. They look stupid. I just hate the way every single one of those dragons looks, except for the Kaiser dragon, and thank God for that. Okay. Oh, let's hang on a moment. I'm mad. I'm hot. Let's chill out, okay? Love that frosty foam, baby. Okay, let's start at the beginning, okay? I actually think the way this game starts is pretty cool. It's a little bit of a retelling of Breath of Fire 3. But, after that initial cool opening, it turns into a 37-hour-long fetch quest with no damn story or plot. Like, what the hell is this? In every other Breath of Fire game, sure, they could be kind of fetch questy. Breath of Fire 2, half the game's a fetch quest, sure. But at least you're learning things about the world and the characters and the tribes and the politics of the world. At least you're learning something in that process. For some reason with Breath of Fire 4, the entire way they decided, here's how we're going to introduce the story, is you play as Ryu, and nothing happens. Hey, you get to play as Folu for about half an hour, who's actually a cool character, and that's where the story is. With a character who's doesn't even talk to the protagonist. They don't meet until the end of the damn game. And it's just like, yeah? I mean, why can't Ryu and Folu have fought maybe 3 or 4 times up until this point? Why do they only meet at the very end? Oh, I know why they meet, but I'm just saying the plot's written bad. That's my point. There were other ways to have done that, and I don't like the way it came across. These two entities are both supposed to be, I guess one of the easiest ways to say it is that they're both a half of a DNA helix of, the timeless, the eternal, whatever you want to call them, depending on your translation. And, the whole point is that only one of them can exist, but they got broken up into 2 entities. And I think it would have been a lot cooler to see them, butting heads along the way. It just doesn't happen. So, I don't like the story. I don't like the way the plot is presented. There's really not a whole lot good going on with it, in my opinion. And this is probably going to get me some flack, but I don't like the way this game looks. I like the animation quality of the sprites, but I don't like the way anything else. I don't like the colors. It looks like a boring, bland pastel painting with no life, no pops of color, nothing. Everything feels muted, like I have a bunch of, dried milk on my tongue and I can't taste anything. It's gross. It makes me want to spit just looking at it. Urshan is cool as a character. Urshan is cool. But the coolest character in that game is not Folu, it's Scias. Scias is one of the coolest characters in the entirety of the Breath of Fire franchise. And even though I hate that game, I love Scias. What an absolute badass. You know what I mean? First of all, people with speech impediments are very rarely represented in games in the first place. And in my experience, because I went to school with people who had speech impediments, is that they're very often treated like they're intellectually inferior, that they can't reason things out, that they have no rationale or logic in their brains because they have trouble verbally speaking. And I don't like that. You know, I've went to school with people like this. And I just will never get over that one line, the best line in that entire game, when, you know, Scias is supposed to be, you know, like this dude who's working for the Empire. He's hunting you down. He's gonna, you know, imprison you and bring you to his superiors for your judgment. And then he lets you go. And then when his superior is like angrily grilling him of like, what were you thinking? Are you insane? Why would you let them go? And Scias just kind of, you know, he just goes like, because I felt like it. Oh, that grin on his face, bro. That's the best line in that game. It's one of the best parts of that game that otherwise doesn't have many other good parts to it. But it's fly, bro. Ryu's sword is dope because it's actually, you know, this whole game is supposed to be Chinese styled. And I think a lot of people erroneously refer to the sword Ryu uses as a katana. It's not. A katana is a Japanese sword. And the katana, the Japanese version, was originally based off of a Chinese sword that was straight. Did you know that Japanese swords aren't forged with curves in them? They used to water quench them, and that makes the metal bend in the process. The bend is a result of the quenching. So they were originally forged to be straight. That's how the original Japanese swords were, because they were being copied from the Chinese style swords. And I love the fact that that exact type of sword that inspired the Japanese katana is what Ryu uses, because it looks badass and you never see anyone using it. Like, the only other character I can think of that used a sword like that was Pretz from Final Fantasy Legend of the Crystals. He's the only other character in any game or anime I've seen use a sword like that, and it's one of my favorite types of swords, so that's pretty cool. But I don't really care for the music. The combo system is super freaking obnoxious, and half the time it doesn't work. It's got problems, and more than I'm willing to overlook, because for the most part it just isn't really that fun to play. Sorry. That's my opinion of Breath of Fire 4. There you go. Let's move on to some. We're gonna move on to some Breath of Fires I actually like. And we're going to smoke a little bit of cannabis, so I'm actually in a good mood, because talking about this game has kind of ruined my attitude right now. Sorry. Let's fix that. Stick around. We're going to go through this whole game and we're going to get the whole franchise. And we're going to keep getting drunker. Let's have a party. Thank y'all for listening. Let's get ready for some more. God bless. Peace.